We are Group 4 and we are pleased to introduce our urban intervention. Welcome to our proposal, the Campus Corridor. Zooming in from the larger context of Pretoria, our corridor is nestled between University of Pretoria's Hillcrest and Hatfield campuses. A theoretical background outlines the disconnect in current urban space development, where buildings do not relate to the streets are reduced to conduits of circulation, green spaces become problematic, endless sprawling, and car dependency. Theory defines the life between buildings as a connecting tissue of the public space, where users are to move about easily and confidently, to linger and take pleasure in spaces, buildings, and city life, and meet informally. To achieve the fundamentals of a good city, theoretical planning principles created the basis for departure.
A recurring theme throughout the analyses and mapping that became evident to us is the condition of urban streetscapes. These manifest in all components of urban space, yet are often neglected or harsh to users. Pedestrian paths and walkways are only evident along the street grids with no dispersion into the urban fabric in between buildings. The combination of car-dominated streets and harsh street edges leave little space for the public realm and pedestrian spaces. Buildings and blocks of development isolate themselves from the road. Their facades often turn their back to the street, privatizing pockets of open or green space. Unused, overgrown earths are evident yet remain abandoned. These earthen taunt the site with the possibility of accessible, green, functional, and productive landscapes. Linking these pockets of green space can create a corridor of greenery along the site. The current infrastructure caters mainly towards vehicular users and is often overwhelmed with traffic. Public transport exists, yet is constrained by limited provision of public transport nodes. The roads and street furniture or lighting are unwelcoming and uncomforting to pedestrian users. Following the mapping, the area between Jan Schober Street and Elsie de Villiers showed the most opportunity for intervention. This led us to reimagine the existing condition for what it has the potential to be. When it comes to the existing condition and the problem on site, the current state of sites has undesirable street interfaces, disjointed or congested movement, a lack of diversity, and a lack of accessible, memorable identities. These factors are evident in all streetscapes, which take the form of vehicular streets, pedestrian pavements, green footpaths, or water channels. However, these street types are not well integrated with each other and are often isolated. One component of open space always tends to dominate over the other. This predominantly tends to be infrastructure.
The new urban state is one where all components interact effectively. All types of streetscapes are the medium for intervention. Competition between the components is encouraged, without one component dominating and winning. This facilitates a healthy dialogue between all facets of urban space in the streetscapes. From a theoretical background combined with the existing condition mapping, strategy goals were derived to implement as principles to achieve the envisioned condition. For some extra background, we did precedent studies. Daylighting Austria was a project based in Denmark aimed to uncover a culverted river. 3 abandoned parks were regenerated and connected by the central water channel, which links the green spaces whilst preventing potential flooding. The green pathways mimic the shape of the river and contains bridging elements allowing pedestrians and cyclists to access both river edges. The meandering pathway creates pockets of green spaces as well as quieter breakaway areas along the river edge for residents to enjoy. The Babylonstoren landscape in Klapmitz is a productive farm generating produce and serving as an interactive agricultural experience where visitors are urged to pick, taste, smell, and touch whilst walking through the landscape. The garden grid creates diverted pathways throughout the farm with activity nodes such as coffee shops prompting visitors to move through the site. The water stream is used as a framing device, irrigating the farm, whilst smaller water features such as koi ponds enhance the visitor's experience and creates activity pockets.
For a market-centered precedent, the 44 Stanley precinct in Johannesburg is the study focus. It is a contemporary, mixed-use, urban and landscape development in Braamfontein. It uses adaptively reused industrial buildings with markets spilling out on ground floor into small courtyards. This is combined with shading and greenery to provide local urban attraction and activities. Public spaces and courtyards are kept small and are placed along a spine or corridor to pull users through the precinct from one space or node to the next. All infrastructural architecture, public space, landscaping, and the surrounding circulation infrastructure all work together to create a successful activity node in the greater urban context.
Solplaatje, located in the prominent city of Kimberley, is the heart of a historic region with urban potential. At the forefront of the development is a comprehensive urban design framework that guides the development and enhancement of Kimberley's urban landscape. This framework focuses on creating spaces that are not only functional and sustainable, but also reflective of the community's heritage and aspirations. The urban framework details a distributed open choice theory with planning for land use, transportation systems, green spaces, and architectural development. It emphasizes connectivity, accessibility, and inclusivity, ensuring a high quality of life.
The Mitchells Plain Transport Interchange serves as a key precedent study, illustrating the integration of transport infrastructure with urban design to enhance connectivity, activity, and pedestrian-friendly spaces. The project focuses on creating a vibrant and well-connected transport interchange in Mitchells Plain Town Centre, integrating taxi and bus terminals, management offices, amenities, and a pedestrian bridge. By pedestrianising 7th Avenue and strategically placing taxi terminals at the town's periphery, the design fosters movement, connectivity, and activity which enhances the urban experience. Moving on to the group concept, vibrant, healthy, and diverse streetscapes are the medium to connect nodes of the site and form an attractive mixed-use urban development corridor between the Hatfield and Hillcrest campuses. Nodes of the site will be programmed to facilitate circulation and movement, social interaction, and trade and business activity. Through implementing urban strategies at the various streetscapes, the dialogue between the new diverse building topologies, new programs, and improved green infrastructure will be facilitated. Activated thresholds and softened edge conditions reinforce the dialogue between the streets and interventions further. Welcoming, safe, unique, and memorable spaces for user interactions are created along the campus corridor. Through applying the strategy goals to the site and the design process, typical nodes of interventions were defined to create linger, green, mixed use, and circulation spaces. The mobility node is characterized by vehicular streets with pedestrian hierarchy crossings and similar traffic calming measures, green buffered pavements, public transport interchanges or stations, pedestrians or cycling infrastructure. These nodes provide access to peripheries of the corridor at multiple points, facilitating better flow of circulation. Typical meeting nodes include higher density and mid-high-rise building facilitating office, commercial, and retail business activity. Cafes and restaurants spill out from the ground floors into the public space, and pedestrian pathways along the corridor. Building edges or facades assist with defining movement, breakaway, and green spaces throughout the node. Mobility nodes are typically situated nearby to provide access to the meeting nodes. Market nodes provide the hustle and bustle to the campus corridor. They act as a threshold from the street to the pedestrian pathways to the meeting nodes or other interventions in the corridor. Informal and formal trade occurs, trading groceries, crafts, knowledge, services, cultural exchanges, and other goods. They contribute to activating street edges and providing activated points of pedestrian entry into the corridor. These markets provide unique and memorable spaces for lingering and browsing, attracting users to site.
The design process catalyst was informed by the prior analysis of the site combined with literature studies. The existing buildings of Hatfield were considered and based on the assessment indicators and strategy goals. The buildings with greatest diversity in typology, program, and scale to the streetscapes were favored. Buildings and forms that would provide a healthy competition and contrast in the corridor were also favored to be kept. Building a maquette of the favored existing buildings further aided us in confirming which buildings should be kept. Thus, the building maquettes were subtracted and added. With the streetscapes forming the heart of the corridor, we explored the shape and form of the existing roads. Modifying the grid structure of the road was important to achieve our strategy of diversifying form, specifically in the streetscapes. Hierarchies of pedestrian streets in comparison with other pedestrian streets was considered, and similarly with vehicular streets. Hierarchies between pedestrian and vehicular streets were also explored. The integration and crossing of these streets through or along the corridor was also designed and developed. The design process included exploring placing nodes along the site, creating the corridor between the campuses. The process of layering our design iterations is shown. This helped us develop the nodes of intervention and implement the strategy goals along the corridor. Various sections through the site were drawn up to explore scale and form in the vertical plane. A greater understanding of representation and detail was gained. However, these aspects could still be emphasized more. The process also included layering aspects of urban design, namely urban form, landscaping, and circulation. Exploring the design of the site in 3D drawings was important to refine scale, variety of form and landscaping, as well as its visual representation. Design development further explored design elements such as level changes, surface treatments, walkable areas, landscaping, differentiation, and desire lines. Initial vistas took the detailed development to a human perspective, focusing on scale and proportion.
Moving from the design informants and process, we arrive at the proposed design intervention. The proposed conceptual site plan creates a dynamic connection corridor that links the University of Pretoria's main campus to the LC Sport campus. This corridor will serve as a vibrant urban space, fostering connectivity and interaction between the two campuses. Through a series of carefully designed urban interventions, such as pedestrian-friendly pathways, marketing green spaces, public plazas, and transportation hubs, the plan seeks to enhance mobility, promote social engagement, and integrate the surrounding community. The mobility, market, and meeting nodes are envisioned along a central spine with landscaping and functional water interventions connecting them to create the campus corridor. The Campus Corridor initiative not only prioritizes functionality, but also achieves the delicate balance of sustainability and a cohesive urban environment, which supports both academic and active ventures. Visually, it provides landmarks, features, and spaces that are easily recognizable, creating a distinguishable identity that fosters a sense of place and belonging.
According to the Hatfield Precinct Plan, this portion of Hatfield is underdeveloped and therefore requires action. Using this precinct plan and the identified assessment indicators as informants, the floor area ratio was maximized to realize the campus corridor vision without exceeding bulk and other town planning restrictions. This helped improve the diversity and identity of Hatfield while keeping heritage and these town planning factors in mind. Diversity and identity have been facilitated through mixed-use buildings and programs across site and low to high density and scale buildings. Diversity also includes greenery and water interventions dispersed between the urban masses. Identity is accomplished through notable and identifiable landmarks or features placed across site. Additionally, the market nodes create spaces for exchange which foster micro-identities. Massing and buildings create vistas and view and movement corridors, attracting users onto and through the site and its nodes. Greenery helps soften the thresholds from the street to pathways to built form and nodes. Smaller pockets of public space encourage building programs to spill out and create softened, welcoming boundaries between the interior and exterior. The existing mobility network is strengthened through the increase of accessible transport nodes and exchanges, the rise of importance of pedestrian networks, and the inclusion of green thresholds. Hierarchy is given to pedestrian users in some instances, yet in most cases, pedestrian and vehicular networks coexist in a more comfortable and safe manner. Sensitivity is fostered through regenerating derelict landscapes and integrating green interventions in and between buildings and programs. To manage existing stormwater issues, productive and interactive water interventions are implemented to supplement sustainable landscaping on site. The collection, filtration, and diversion of water connects to the existing water bodies on the sports campus.
Zooming in from the larger intervention, prominent zones of the site were identified for further detail. Introducing Zone 1. Zone 1 details the mobility node along Jan Schober Street. Surface treatment for pedestrians versus vehicles is highlighted, as well as the entrance to the corridor. Zone 1 shows the level differences from the mobility node to the market node across the newly introduced bus stop. The newly proposed buildings and interventions frame the public edges and spaces.
Continuing to Zone 2. The detailed plan of Zone 2 emphasizes the meeting node with pedestrian focus. Movement through the corridor is synthesized, showing the relationships of pedestrian movement, built form interventions, and vehicular transient access. Zone 2 section highlights the vertical scale of the meeting node dispersed with public plazas. The peripheries of the meeting node are accompanied by vehicular streets and mobility nodes for sufficient access to the inner commercial, retail, and office activities.
Moving to Zone 3, the thresholds from the street to the market node to the urban farm are highlighted. The integration of movement patterns creates a cohesive urban system. The range of surface treatment dictated by the programs creates a diverse, successful urban landscape. The change of programs and decrease in scale contrast yet also complement the surrounding built-up context. This taper of building height begins the transition from the Hatfield and Corridor campuses into the sports campus.
And lastly, Zone 4. Zone 4 is where the final interventions of the campus corridor exist, before the sport campus truly begins. The grass-terraced amphitheatre connects the training aspects of university facility with a community-centered area. Pedestrians are of high importance due to vehicular access roads only. Green landscaping is also of high importance to facilitate the link into the existing vegetation of LC. The existing footprints of the residential buildings were conserved. However, the height was expanded upon to realize the floor area ratio potential. The filtered wetland stream continues through the sports campus, and a boardwalk facilitates walkers or runners on LC. Therefore, the stream has the opportunity to be interactive to the amphitheatre and boardwalk users. These vistas provide an insight as to what the campus corridor atmosphere from a user's perspective would be. This perspective captures the envisioned streetscapes as the medium for successful dialogue between infrastructure and movement, architecture and massing, landscaping and water management, and lastly, public space and parks. After some reflection about our project and urban design as a whole, an appreciation for the in-between spaces of the public realm and its daily use was developed. It has become evident that further stakeholder engagement is necessary for the feasibility and application of such a design project. Extending this framework across the city would create a large network system of interconnected corridor nodes. We, as Group 4, thoroughly enjoy designing and navigating the complexities of urban design.